Hey there! Today I'm going to discuss a couple of inks which I recently discovered and which I thought were fairly interesting. I've done this in the past and I'm doing it again now to point you in the direction of some inks I liked. So today I'll talk about 6 inks. I'll briefly discuss each bottle right now, and then I'll give you a writing sample and show you a still of the writing I did so that you can sort of compare this. First of all, I will use a glass dip pen for these samples. You have to realize two things. When using this, first of all, the ink will be more saturated with this pen than it will be with a fountain pen, because you dip this in the ink, there's a lot of ink on there, so the ink will look more saturated. Secondly, generally speaking, you cannot really bring out the shading of an ink very well with a dip pen. At least that's my experience. I mean, with a dip pen like this. So don't expect that. I will try to indicate for every ink when I'm doing the writing samples what type of shading you can expect. Okay, let's cover the inks. First of all, my first Montblanc ink, which I kind of like. It is Midnight Blue, and I was shocked when I got this home and I unpacked it and I saw this is an iron gall ink. Because iron gall was used in the Middle Ages, and that is a notoriously aggressive ink. Yes, it's a notoriously aggressive bottle too. It just attacked me, suddenly I'm full of ink. 1 second. There we go. So it's a pretty aggressive ink, and in fact you should be fine, I guess, when you clean your pen very well after using this ink. That's what I've been doing. I'm sorry, I'm just cleaning the bottle off screen here. And it works very well. So it hasn't ruined any of my pens, but when you use it, do take care to really clean. My desk is now getting midnight blue too. Clean your pen, desk and fingers well after using this ink. You don't want it to clog your feed. Apart from that, what you get with this ink is a very stern looking black blue ink, which I like a lot. I think it's even pretty waterproof, so it's a nice ink. Okay, the second ink is Lindow Blue, which I got for free with a pen. Lindow is, I think, a small island in the south of Germany. Never been there, but this is a nice ink. It's a fairly, I would say standard or typical blue. When you think of a fountain pen writing in blue ink, then you're probably thinking of this type of color. Don't expect any, hilarious shading or something that's fantastically awesome. It's a fairly standard blue, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're looking for a neutral ink, I think that is a very good candidate. Then we have Lamy Green. This is the green Lamy ink. I've already shown you this in my review of the Lamy 2000. Nicely shaded green, and what's really nice is that these bottles come with built-in blotting paper. So there's a roll of the paper in the bottom of the bottle, you don't use that blotting paper on paper. You don't use it to blot your writing. You use it actually to clean the nib after you filled it with the ink, which I think is a very nice touch. Okay, don't mind the bottle here. This is Omas Blue. It doesn't come in these bottles. It comes in larger bottles, but I got this with an Omas 360, which I bought pre-owned. Someone sent me a bottle, but the bottle was sort of half empty, and I couldn't fill my pens anymore with that, so I put it in a smaller bottle. I think this is another very well-behaved, nice blue. What I like about this is that it's very easy to clean. So when I put this in a Montblanc piston filler, which I cannot disassemble, I can clean my pen in 15 minutes, and with some other inks it can take you up to an hour or more. So this really saves time. So if you're looking for a well-behaved, simple blue that's easy to clean, I think it's officially called technical blue or something, but it's just blue. Alright, then we have Diamine Bilbury. I got this for free. Yes, I get a lot of ink for free, people. That's what I do. I got this ink with a fountain pen. I think this is a very fascinating ink. You may see this sort of blue sheen at the bottom. I'm not sure how well my camera picks it up, but in fact it's not really a blue. It's like a bluish purple or a purplish blue, one or the other. It reminded me a bit of a Private Reserve Tanzanite, but a bit tamer, a bit more restrained. I really love Tanzanite, and I think this is a very fascinating ink. I hope I can convey this well enough in the writing sample with the glass pen, but it's a fascinating ink. By the way, I think I should get a medal for bravery, because my glass pen, the nib broke halfway through the writing sample, and I just continue. You know, that's how hardcore I am. I just, broken nibs, I just go on. So please send me a medal. Now, there we go. Finally, I have in this amazing package Visconti Purple. Yes, I think it's amazing. The good thing is you can take this off. You got a whiskey glass, which is actually fairly useful. It's actually plastic, but still, a whiskey plastic doesn't really sound the same. You get this nice stand, which is useless. But here we have this great bottle. Look at that. Isn't this amazing? It's plastic, so don't expect a glass bottle. But I do think it's really nice. And the good thing about this is that when you're filling a pen, it's really easy to hold. This makes for a very nice grip. So that's pretty cool. The purple, the Visconti Purple, I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's a very nice ink. I got it for free with a pen. But I think it's a very nice, dark, deep purple. It reminded me a little bit of Violette Pensée by J. Herbin, but I think this is just a little bit more intense and vibrant. It has a very nice shading, so I really like it. Okay, that is more than enough talk. We have to go on to the writing sample. So, I hope this was useful so far. I hope the writing samples will be even more useful, and that's all there's to it. Bye-bye! Okay, so here we go. Here is the ink lineup that I will use today. The paper is just a bit of Hexacompta Clairefontaine. And here we go. First we have the Montblanc Midnight Blue. This is a fascinating ink. A blue-black, I'd say. It is a deep, rich color, and it actually has some shading. It is not extremely pronounced, but there definitely is some shading. And I think the most important thing to realize is that this is an iron gall ink. So when using this in a fountain pen, you really have to clean the pen well afterwards. Otherwise, your feed may actually clog. Okay, the next ink is the Lindow Blue. As you can see, this is, I now wrote blue, sorry, it's blue anyway. As you can see, this is quite a bit lighter than the Montblanc Midnight Blue. This is what I think of when I think about a blue ink, a fountain pen ink. It's a fairly standard blue, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just what a sort of archetypal or stereotypical ink when people are talking about blue, I think. I like it. It's well behaved. It's a nice, simple blue. Okay. Next in line is the Lamy Green. You've already seen this in my review of the Lamy 2000. A nice, vibrant apple green, I think. Another well-behaved ink. I thought this was fairly wet, pleasant to use. Some shading. It's difficult to show you that with this glass pen, but you can see this. You can see this in the bits in which I use quite some ink. There definitely is some shading going on from darker to lighter green. Also, I think I've already shown you that in the video of the review of the Lamy 2000. I'll just cap the bottle here. You have this nice built-in roll of paper which you can use to wipe the nib on. So you just tear it out. It's a roll. You pull out a bit, you tear it off, and then you wipe the nib on that, which I like. I think that's a very nice practical invention. Okay, there we go with the Omas Blue. I really like this blue. And the reason for that is that it is intense. It's, I think, pretty vibrant. It's fairly dark, a dark blue. But most of all, it is extremely well behaved. And the good thing is that I use this in my Montblanc Meisterstück pens because it is really easy to clean out. It doesn't seem to be extremely contain a lot of dye or something, so it's pretty easy to clean out of a piston filler you cannot disassemble, and that's a good thing. So if cleaning up is an issue for you and you want a well-behaved ink, then I would seriously consider Omas. I just wrote down 360, sorry, of course it's blue. Nice, well-behaved, fairly wet, a good ink. The next ink I'll use is Diamine Bilbury. And I thought Bilbury was a fascinating ink. It's purplish, and it reminded me a little bit of Private Reserve Tanzanite, except that the Diamine was a little bit more restrained. I seem to have an issue with my nib here. There we go. Well, Bilbury. Okay, read that. Bilbury, but not with two L's. It's not Bilberry, it's not a name. Okay, Bilbury. Right, there we go. So this may remind you a little bit of Tanzanite too. I'm not sure. I'll make this really wet here so that you can see it a bit better. It's a really dark, deep color. It's neither fully blue nor fully purple, but something in between. I like it. I think it's a slightly more restrained version of Private Reserve Tanzanite. So that's an interesting ink, which is dark enough to be used professionally. So I mean, sometimes some people have jobs, right, where it's not very feasible to have brightly colored inks, and I think this would actually make a good alternative then. Okay, then finally, Visconti Purple. The reason my handwriting deteriorates is that I broke off a bit of the nib of this glass pen. So I have to angle it a bit peculiarly to make it right. Okay, there we go. You know what? Visconti Lava. same ink. There we go. You see the difference? Let's do this over again. What you can see here, you can see the shading in this pen quite a bit better. A nice responsive palladium nib too, so that's really, it opens a bit under pressure, which really shows you the amount of shading you get in this ink. I really like this color. I think it's a very nice color. It reminds me a little bit of Gérabin Violette Pensée, but I think this is a bit more intense. It's at least in my ink, it seems to be a bit brighter than the Violette Pensée. Alright, so what I'll do next is upload a still shot of all the ink samples so you can actually see them a bit better at your leisure. Of course, you should remember that you know, my camera may alter the colors of the ink a little bit, so don't be extremely surprised if you buy a bottle and it looks a bit different. But in general, this should give you, you know, a rough impression of all of these inks, and that's all there's to it. So I hope this was useful. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.